Hi gents, exclamation point. What is the possibility we could see FSR3 frame generation used on Switch 2 in combination with DLSS for upscaling? Could it be a possible way to get some use out of the 120 hertz screen? Thanks as always, exclamation point. I'm going to quickly come up with some thoughts on this, because you could, in theory, use FSR3 frame generation or a lot of other different types of frame generation, because, we've seen it on Steam Deck, right? And so if the Steam Deck can do it, then Switch 2 can do it. However, I just think it's far more likely that some sort of lightweight version of DLSS frame generation will be used, because we've now got a fully AI-based rendition of frame generation that's now used on 40 series. I don't see any reason why it couldn't be backported to Ampere 30 series to run on Switch 2. What do you reckon, John?
Yeah, I reckon that's indeed possible. Either solution, actually. And it would be a good way to take advantage of that 120 hertz screen. I think frame gen from 60 is quite viable and usable.
Mm-hmm. The blurry screen would help as well, wouldn't it?
The blurry screen would help. It would kind of hide artifacts there for sure. I think it would be cool to see this, because so far the amount, I think 120 FPS games are pretty limited. There is at least one out there now, finally. I haven't tried it yet, this version, but the Switch version of East 10, the unfortunately named Proud Nordics, is 120 frames per second in performance mode, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Metroid Prime 4, whenever that hits, they promised a 120 mode as well, right?
Yeah, we saw it at the
you saw
event.
It. Cool.
It is indeed very, very nice.
That's awesome. So there's some coming, but you're right. It's not a common thing. And I feel like, for 60 games that are already doing 60, having a, ultra performance 120 mode would make a lot of sense. It'd be great.
And also, even if you're in like 90 FPS territory from frame generation, it still kind of works. You've got VRR as well.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
there's a lot of potential there. What do you reckon, Oliver?
I think like with FSR3 in particular, it's just expensive. Like I think we see that on Steam Deck.
Right.
It just ends up being kind of expensive. You can kind of do it from some titles to go from 30 FPS to 60 FPS, but is that really a good experience? I would venture probably not. I think something like DLSS frame generation could work if they were able to develop a very lightweight version of DLSS frame generation. But absent that, I think FSR3 is probably too expensive, especially if you're doing like 60 to 120. That's pretty demanding in terms of the kind of FSR portion of the frame time there. I don't think that would necessarily be viable. And I'm not sure that DLSS frame generation would be either, at least in its regular kind of 40 series, 50 series form.